So I was just reviewing my notes on being a creator. You've probably heard people say you create your own reality. So if you're trying to get people to explain it, no one really says it the same way. Everyone's got their different spins on it. So, other than you create your own reality, everything else about how to do it, um, it keeps coming up because everyone seems to be getting different words to explain it, a little bit different this, a little bit different that. And this seems to be a loop because that's what I first said, and then I paused, and then I said it again, and I said, why am I repeating myself? The issue is that as Nassim Haramein said in his talk about he said that if you lived in your own universe, what you wanted to manifest would manifest for you. But he said, you are in a collective. So when you request something to manifest for you, your request goes in with all the other people's requests for all the things that they want. And then the quantum field sorts it out. And then he said that God looks at it, and what is actually going to manifest for all of us is that which is going to help us evolve the best. And immediately I thought to myself, Nassim, why did you throw God in there? And Nassim, why did you assume that we are in a collective? Well, Nassim's not standing here right now for me to ask the question. But I think this is the problem, is even really smart physicists like Nassim Haramein still haven't got the full picture of what's going on. Nassim threw in, we're part of a collective, and he threw in God. So I'm going to strip out that I'm part of a collective, and I'm going to strip out God, because I don't know what God means. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was talking about that word. And I said, in the workings of Dr. David R. Hawkins, who I often talk about, Dr. Hawkins, I wish he never used the word God, because it's got so much religiosity around it. And then I talked about, well, what did he do? He explained God like this. He said, you've got a rose bush, and on the rose bush, you see a bud, and the bud grows, and then the petals of the rose open up like this. And that's how he's talking about God. He's not saying, or he would say, there is no God that is telling the rose to open up into a fully open rose flower. It just does it. There is no doer. There's no God like me being God saying to Rose, okay, Rose, I want you to create a flower. No, there is no God. So if I'm standing in for God, it's you don't need it. It's not needed. Superfluous. The rose becomes a rose flower. God is not saying to the rose bush, I need you to make a flower. It doesn't. So you don't need God telling the rose bush what to do. It just does it. And he said, this movement, that's what he calls God. And it's very confusing. Like, why use that word God? Why use the word manifestation? These are stupid words. They're so confusing. No human understands God. No human understands manifestation. Humans understand this week I watched the rose bush bloom. People understand that. So all the rest of this law of vibration and law of attraction and all this, it's bullshit. Did the rose bush, by law of attraction, bloom? No. Nothing at all like that. Nothing. Now, a human might have gone to the nursery and bought a rose bush and planted it in a certain part of their yard. And the nursery had a tag on it and said, it's a red rose. And the guy had a choice of buying a yellow rose, a pink rose, a red rose, a black rose. He bought the red rose bush. And lo and behold, that's what bloomed. Someone who's really good at growing plants gets to really understand what you can do with a plant. So I'm going to give you the example of marijuana growers. Because, for example, in Canada, there are corporations who have invested a lot of money in building enormous grow-ops to grow marijuana. And they have used all the information that they could gather from black marketeers who grow marijuana about how to make the best bud. And they know that they can control the amount of light at different stages, change the amount of light, maybe the quality of the light, changing the frequency of the light. So I don't know, maybe they use blue light or one part and they use orange light another. It's something like that. I don't grow marijuana. They also will control the amount of time of how much light a day the plant gets, and it changes. And they change the amount of carbon dioxide in the room, because that can affect the amount of and the quality of the bud. They have had different strains of marijuana plants that have different qualities of the end product. So there are a lot of different things. By studying the plant and its growing, you can study all this stuff to adjust the bloom. So the human can adjust the conditions for the marijuana plant. Is the human acting like God? And sort of. I mean, the human didn't invent the marijuana plant. A long time ago, they found marijuana already growing on planet Earth, as far as we know, unless it was transported here by extraterrestrials. But, we don't have information on that. But what we have is that humans can influence plants. What's that got to do with law of attraction? Something attracted a human to go to the nursery to buy the rose bush. What was it? Well, the human looked out in their yard and they said, well, there's a spot in my yard where it just seems like it needs something there aesthetically. And what I think it needs there is it needs a rose bush there. That's what I think I'd like to see there, so that's what I'm going to do. So why was it aesthetically that the human thought that it needed a rose bush there? Well, the human has been through catalogs of different plants. It's been through catalogs of garden sheds, trees, dog houses, bird baths, quite a lot of different choices of things. If the human didn't have any of these catalogs of things to put in their yard, would they even know what to do? It's possible that you might have a new house and a new subdivision, and someone comes down your street and they got a pickup truck and they've got rose bushes in the back of the truck. And they stop in front of your house and they come up to your front door, knock on the door, and they say, hi, I see you've got a new house in this new subdivision, and I've got a truck full of rose bushes. Do you want one? Or 10? So the universe knocked on your door. Now you've got an option. Why did that person drive down your street? In our world, it was because they work for the nursery, and the nursery knows that these new subdivisions need a lot of greenery. So it was a sales call. I'm still not really getting where I want to go. What I really want to happen is the next thing I was thinking of, you have a wind, and the wind blows seeds from somewhere else, and the seeds take up root in your backyard, and then you end up with a wildflower garden for free. I see that happen a lot. I mean, farmers even know that. I mean, stuff will blow and grow where it wasn't really planned. There's biology studies in ecology about how plants can find niches in the environment and grow. This is still much biology. I want to go back to what I was talking to a few days ago about dreams. If you're having a dream, and in the dream you have a park, and you're going for a walk in the park in the dream, you just appeared in the dream, you went to bed, and next thing you know, you're having a dream, and you're in a dream in a park going for a walk. Do you think that before you entered that dream, there was a dream gardener who did all the planting in the park? And then you went to sleep in your bed, and the next thing you know, you're having a dream and you're in this park. But there were people who made this park area before you got in there. Nobody would say that. They would say, no, it's a dream. And I just had a dream. And dreams are just kind of weird, you know. You just find yourself in a dream, and the park was there. It was just there. No one created this park for me to go to. It was just there. It's just a weird thing of dreams. That's an assumption. And I don't think most people even think about it. It's just, you know, people have weird dreams. Somebody has a flying dream, or they have a dream being chased by a bear. No one thinks that it's anything but just, you know, dreams are just weird. It's just, that's the way they are. No one thinks that the dream was set up. In other words, in the dream reality, the park, there actually were people who set up this park this way for you to experience in your nighttime dream. No one would think that. But what if it's true? What if it's true? What if somehow when you went to sleep, you got transported to this dream park that was custom built? Why do I say this? Well, it's because this is not my first-hand experience information, but people talk about what are known as astral planes. Astral worlds are known also as dream worlds. And they say if you go to one of these astral places, your thoughts, I hate to use the word again, but your thoughts manifest immediately. So if you think of a park appears. There's also studies about great masters who can create things. Babaji is one of the names that comes to mind. Babaji is a great magician and can create a palace just by thinking about it, and boom, there's a palace. And then he can bring his friends to the palace and they can have a nice dance, have something to eat. And at the end of the time allotted that Babaji has allotted for experiencing the palace, Babaji dematerializes the palace, and he might even dematerialize the guests at the palace. So from these stories, I'm going to open the door to the possibility that there are other beings who create our realities. And then we're born into the reality we call planet Earth, and at nighttime we are born into the realities that we call dreams. And did you create the dream, or did someone else create it for you? I know for myself, I never think that I create my dreams. I just don't. How would I create these weird dreams that I experience? I didn't plan on it. I go to sleep, I don't even know if I'm going to have a dream. I'm totally not in control of my dream experiences. Even when I'm experiencing the dream, I'm really not in control at all. It's like right now. Am I in control of what happens when I'm talking to you here on this video? I don't know what ideas are going to want to come forth when I'm talking. I just start talking, and usually what I do to start talking is there's a breath taken, and then I expel the breath, and I see if my voice box is going to vibrate and whether my mouth is going to start talking about something. Sometimes there might be something that wants to be talked about before I turn on the camera, but then when I breathe and I start talking, I might not talk about that thing at all. It's really weird. It's just like being here in the moment, watching this body do the talking. So how am I creating my own reality? The only way I'm creating my own reality is I'm just being here. I'm just being here. And that's it. Whatever comes out, comes out. Okay, well, the other thing I wanted to mention was something that is also talked about in various places is something called superconsciousness. And what is superconsciousness? Best thing I can tell you is somebody else's another name for God. I mean, in psychology, you have the unconscious. What is unconscious? Well, if you go unconscious, you're out, right? You're not conscious of here. Your body's lying there. You're unconscious. They take you off to the hospital. There's subconscious, which is stuff that you're not aware of in your conscious mind, but, it's like, last night you read a book. Today you're at work and your conscious mind is focusing on your work. But you're not thinking about the book you read last night. So it's in the subconscious. And at your coffee break, maybe you brought your book with you and you pick up the book and you open it up, and then all of a sudden, everything that was in the subconscious mind comes back to you into your conscious mind to do with what happened in the book before you put it down last night before bed. So that's what subconscious mind is. Conscious mind is what's going on right now, right here and now, what's in my conscious mind. And what is superconscious mind then? It's not really easy to figure out what superconscious mind is. The best word I can get for it is higher consciousness than, your active consciousness right now. And what else can we say about superconsciousness? Not too much. Is it real? I think so. Why? Because synchronicity happens sometimes. Something that is an organizing principle, not me organizing a coincidence. Something else has arranged a coincidence. So something that can arrange a coincidence in my life, it's not me consciously doing it. It just happened and something else did it. And it's intelligent because it's not random. Why do we say it's not random? It's too startling when you have one of these synchronicities. It's too startling to be random. A mathematician might say, well, maybe it's startling for you, but mathematically, I'm going to give you some mathematical reason for it. How about déjà vus? How can a mathematician explain déjà vu, which is you getting the feeling, maybe in a dream, or somehow you just get it in your head, something's going to happen. And then sometimes later, that thing happens. How can a mathematician explain that? It's not probability. Why isn't it probability? My experience with déjà vu sometimes is I was working at a nursing home with old people. And there was a few times I woke up in the middle of the night and something told me that one of my people that I look after was going to die. Was it because that person was especially sick that day, the last time I saw them? In my experience, no. They were, a lot of people are sickly in nursing homes, but they go on for years and years. But when you wake up and you just have a knowingness that someone's going to die, and then you go into work and lo and behold, the person is dead, somehow you got that information. And no one phoned me to tell me that so-and-so was on their last legs. And they didn't look any different than they had for the past 6 months. And then that happens. So there are things like this that I would say indicate there is some stuff. Is it just hidden parts of our mind? Maybe. Is it superconsciousness? Well, that's what we're going to call it, because I don't have really good information on superconsciousness. I have a book by J. Donald Walters, who was a student of Yogananda, and that's the title of the book. And I'm not J. Donald Walters, and even though I read quite a bit of the book years ago, nothing as much is coming up other than if you want to contact superconsciousness yourself, meditate and do Kriya Yoga. I don't do Kriya Yoga because I was never trained in it, and I do meditate though. Superconsciousness guide me. I can't really tell you. That's all I have for you for now. If you enjoyed this talk, please subscribe. And if you didn't enjoy this talk, then please send it to your worst enemy. Because somebody needs to see whatever I've said.